And if you're not prepared to tell them, I'm not prepared to subsidise you either. Now, basically, you're talking on deaf ears. It's falling on deaf ears. So you need to go to the top. You need to get your local divisional superintendent or chief superintendent down at a meeting, and you need to give him a hard time. The harder, the better. When I was policing, I used to walk around the beat and I'd talk to people who were unhappy about policing, and I'd say, well, how much are you insisting upon getting a good standard of policing? And they said, well, what do you mean? So how often do you go down to the police station and have a rant at them? And they said, well, never. And I said, well, you get the standard of policing that you insist upon. If you don't insist upon a high standard of policing, you won't get it. But if you do insist upon a high standard of policing, you will get it. And if you put complaints in on a regular basis about your local police, they'll get fed up with the complaints department looking over their shoulder all the time, and they'll think, oh God, it's that Mrs. Jones again from Corrington Avenue. We'll get round there a bit smartish. Yeah? My son, Peter, when he was 9, he used to play football for a little team on a weekend. They were training. The mother phoned me up. I was divorced from her by then. The mother phoned me up and she said, I'm very concerned about Peter. The guy who picks him up in the car, he's got 4 boys in the car with Peter, and he's saying things about Peter's bigger sister, who was 14 at the time, and what she's getting up to with her boyfriend. It's upsetting Peter. So I can't come round. And I went round and I said to him, what's happening, Pete? And he told me what the story was. And who else was in the car? Well, there was Harry, there was George, there was Fred, there was whatever. So right, come on, we'll go and find them. So I went up to these kids, we found them in the street, and I said to them, right, one at a time, I said to them, right, I'm Peter's dad, but I'm also a policeman. Can you tell me, please, what's going on in the car? What's being said in the car? And individually, they all told me the same thing. And I said to them, right, I want you to go home now, straight home, tell your mum that I've spoken to you, and tell her that another policeman will be coming to talk to you, but she will have to be there when the other policeman talks to you. So go home and do that right now. And then I went back and I phoned the police from my ex-wife's house, and I said, I need to see a policeman, want to report an offence. They said, what is it? So I told them, and they said, well, there's no offence. I said, well, you won't know till you get here, will you? So they came, and they said, OK, we'll send somebody round. Well, 2 hours later, nobody had arrived. So I phoned them again, and I said to them, what's happening? They said, oh, we discussed it. We decided there's no offences, there's no point in going. I said, if I haven't got a little man in a blue pointed hat standing in front of me in 5 minutes, my next phone call will be to the complaints department at Scotland Yard. The police car, when it came round the corner with the blues and twos going on 2 wheels. 2 police officers got out, very officious, clipboard, listened to what I had to say, and he said to me, it was no offence, there's nothing we can do. Well, in the Metropolitan Police, if a child comes to the attention of the police, you fill in what they call a Form 78. If it's because he's helped some old lady who's been run over in the street, you fill it in, it goes to the Youth and Community Department, they take it to Chief Superintendent writes him a nice letter of commendation because he's done something nice. If it's because you caught the little scrote, he's drunk, or he's been shoplifting, or he's out with his mother who is drunk, then it goes through all the channels and it goes through social services and everybody else. And I said to the guy, there's absolutely nothing you can do. And he said, no, nothing at all. I said, you're absolutely certain about that? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And I said to him, oh, really? What about a Form 78 on the youth club? And he looked at me and you could see enlightenment dawning. And I said, yes, you're absolutely right, I am Job. Now, I don't care whether this is investigated by you or by me. It's on your division's grounds. I'm giving you an opportunity to investigate it. But I tell you now, it will be investigated. And if I investigate it, there's going to be a bigger bloody bang in West Hampstead Police Station than there ever was at Hiroshima. So they went away, and the next thing you know, my son gets an interview with the police, and they ask him what's going on, and the next thing we know, we've got to go to Southwark Crown Court because the guy has been arrested Fortunately, he hadn't laid a finger on my son. 2 of the other boys he had committed serious sexual assaults on. If I hadn't insisted that that was looked at, then in fact it would have gone on, and eventually my son would probably have been a victim along with everybody else. So you insist upon the standard of policing that you want, and if you insist hard enough, you will get it, because the police don't like people complaining about them. It's hard work for them. They can lose their pension, they can lose their job, they can even in certain circumstances go to prison. So basically, insist upon a high standard of policing, and the best way to start that is to have a meeting and get the man here himself and give him a hard time. So you invite your local divisional superintendent, the inspector for the area, and the local beat policeman. You get the 3 of them down. The superintendent will tell the inspector he's not going to these places to get harangued like that again. Sort it. The inspector will tell the policeman, sort it. It's typical, isn't it? Captain gets a headache, so eventually the ship's boy ends up kicking the cat. Right? It gets passed down the line. You don't care where it goes to. All you want to know is that when you ask for a policeman, you get a policeman. When you get him, he is efficient and does the job properly. Insist upon a high standard. Anybody else?
Any more questions out there?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen the film Taking Liberties?
I haven't, no.
I can highly recommend that you do, because everything you've said has been very interesting about local policing if we get burglary. But to my mind, the crucial issue is the role of the police in political oppression in this country.
Well, basically, there are some certain things which concern me greatly about the police today. Very concerned about the oath, for starters. I'm also very concerned about the fact that in the past, when I joined the police force, you had to be either a United Kingdom subject or a subject from the Commonwealth. Either way, you shared the same sovereign that we have. Nowadays, they've done away with that, so you can in fact become a police officer from anywhere in the world. Now this is particularly dangerous because at the moment, there is a great groundswell of resistance building up in this country about what government are doing. And quite rightly, because what government are doing is treason. There is no doubt about it. It fits the definition of treason word for word. They have decimated our food producing industry. If you allow the food producing industry in a country to run down so far that you cannot feed your own people, that is a definition of treason. They have decimated our manufacturing industry. If you cannot manufacture the necessary goods and things for your own population to use, that in fact is a definition of treason. If in fact you allow your armed forces to be so degraded that they are incapable of defending your own country, that in fact is treason. Now we don't have any production methods to produce guns, ammunition, tanks, aircraft to renew the equipment our armed forces use. We have to buy it in. We buy it from the French, the Germans, the Spanish, and anybody else will sell it to us. All of the people that we want maybe to go to war with. Makes no sense, does it? Why would you want to buy German guns and fire German bullets where if you can end up with a war with Germany, they just stop sending it to you? You can't win, can you? So basically these things are treason. There are breaches of the Constitution which are treason. The treason is that the Constitution is being subverted on such a scale that it is being degraded so badly that in fact we are now living in very dangerous times because the Constitution put there by our forefathers, who were not stupid, built the Constitution in such a way to give us all the protections we were ever likely to need. House of Lords lost their ability to throw out a bill in 1911. Again in 1948 it was changed again. 1911 they could only hold it up for 3 years, 1948 only up for 2 years. After that they've gone. All of the hereditary peers have been thrown out of the House of Lords. Completely illegal. They have a letters patent from the sovereign. Some of these letters patents go back hundreds and hundreds of years, but they entitle any lord with a letters patent